Canto 18, Liberation. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, O Krishna, O Lord of every being, I wish to verily understand Sannyasa's meaning and also the fundamentals of Tyaga. I need to know what the underlying principles are. Please show. Lord Krishna spoke. The learned consider sannyasa to be total abstention from the prescribed duties and actions, an absolute abnegation. But tyaga implies not a complete abstinence. Giving up the fruits of all actions is its key essence. By some literate men it is thus pronounced, it is necessary for all actions to be renounced. By some others, this view is subjected. Sacrifice, offering and penance alone shouldn't be neglected. Listen to me now as I declare my conclusions for you to clear the air. O Arjuna, O fiercest amongst warriors, listen to me. Renunciation too is of modes 3. Sacrifice, penance and offering. These actions 3 must be verily performed. Neglected they shouldn't be. For they bring about in the wise an inner purification and lead verily in the soul's emancipation. O Arjuna, even while these actions are performed, this following principle must be conformed. All actions must be done in a state of detachment, without holding on to any fruitive attachment. The abnegation of prescribed actions is not proper, as neglecting the right action is deemed improper. Such an approach is a tamas type of renunciation that has arisen simply out of ignorance's illusion. He who renounces his works due to depression or due to bodily discomfort or a troubled apprehension, such a person engages in a rajas type of abstention and gains not the entitlements of true renunciation. He who performs regulated and right actions, detached and without any fruitive attractions, with a sense of duty, he discharges his deeds every day. Such a renunciation is in sync with Sattva's way. The wise man who has overcome all contradictions in a state of Sattva are all his renounced actions. Towards difficult actions he holds no indisposition, and pleasing actions to him hold no attraction. Works cannot be renounced by any embodied being. Such is the nature of works for all creatures living. He who gives up only the fruits of action, he has understood the true meaning of renunciation. All fruits of actions in this world and the next can thus be desired or undesired or mixed, only one of the 3. Post-death too, the beings enslaved to fruits are bound, but those who renounce truly are in all worlds free found. O Arjuna, learn from me as I shall reveal. The 5 main causes to you I shall unveil, as per the wisdom of the ancient instruction, by which man attains in all his works a perfection. The 5 comprise the physical body as the base, the doer whose command it obeys, the different kinds of efforts, the senses that perpetuate, and finally, it is the individual's governing fate. The 5 elements constitute and interact to create the governing cause by which all beings act. They chisel and mold man's development and outcome, and define what his deeds of mind, body and speech become. But those beings who do not comprehend, due to ignorance, nothing they can apprehend, themselves to be the cause of actions they believe, the truth such blinded beings cannot perceive. He who has given up his sense of possession, he whose intelligence is not driven by passion, even if multiple people such a being were to slay, he isn't the slayer and not bound to sin in any way. The knowledge, the objective senses, and the knower, these 3 trigger the mental impulses in the doer. Then again it is the doer, the instrument and the action. All works arise only by the 3's combined sanction. Gnosis, the works and the actions mode, as written in the ancient scriptural code, all persist in nature in ways 3-fold. Listen to these 2, as to you I shall unfold. The knowledge coming from the inner eye is opening, that which perceives in all the supreme selves becoming. Behind all the divisions, those who perceive the one indivisible. In all such beings, Sattva's light is recognizable. But that knowledge which perceives in all forms a division, that which in the multiplicity of life sees a separation, devoid of oneness, it sees in all creations a distinction. The knowledge of such beings is powered by Rajas's passion. The pseudo-knowledge gives the beings a very narrow view, for their eyes are blind and see nature to be untrue. Limited in perception, they prefer a routine of sameness, and their knowledge is blighted by tamas's darkness. Any action that is performed in the manner right, from likings or aversion, by remaining detached, regulated unto the fruits of work by not being attached, no such actions to be done in Sattva's light. But the actions initiated by desire's domination, egoistically, seeking a personal and passionate aspiration, which require a great strain and effort to fulfill, no such actions to be as per Rajas's will. Actions that have arisen out of ignorance's illusion, disproportionately and mechanically in a state of delusion, disregarding the consequences by wastage of effort. These actions of tamas inflict only injury and hurt. In success and loss, whose actions are calm and resolute, in a sattva state, all his works he is said to execute. Devoid of attachment, his ego he has forsaken, and bereft of attachment, all his works are undertaken. With passion, indulgence, and by holding attachment, greedily desiring the fruits of work and their fulfillment, extremes of emotions in success and loss, spreading violence, such a doer is said to be Rajas in his nature and essence. One who acts without thinking and reacts by default, his every work is obstinate and wrought with fault, cunning and ignorant, indolent and inexpressive, Such a doer, in a state of tamas, is always depressive. O Arjuna, even understanding is said to be threefold. About it, I shall reveal what is understood and told. Likewise, persistence too has three actualities. Hear me carefully. I shall explain their qualities. That which sees the laws of action and renunciation, recognizing the differences between right and wrong action. He who understands what is to be feared and what is not, what binds or frees the spirit, Sattva's understanding he has got. That which is right action and that which is wrong action. His mind has a faulty sense of discrimination, of what is to be done and avoided. He holds a wrong notion. Such a being is Rajas in understanding and perception. Those who are veiled by darkness's cloak, deluded by falsehood, pseudo-interpretations they evoke. Their perception of the world is blurred by their misunderstanding. O Arjuna, such beings are said to be tamas in their understanding. When the grit and determination is firm and unwavering, through yoga's regulated efforts and conditioning, when there is control over one's mind, senses and existence, this is said to be a sattva state of persistence. O Arjuna, when to attachments the beings are firm, restlessly, wealth, righteousness and desire, they are firm. Motivated by them, passion is their main feature, and Rajas is said to be their persistence in nature. When, O Arjuna, one is full of ignorance, biding time in dreams, sleep and indolence, filled with fear, foolhardiness and depression, such a proud being is tamas in his determination. And now, O Arjuna, listen carefully to me, for I shall explain the pleasures three. By knowing them, you can be free of distress and dwell joyously and verily progress. That which seems like a venom poisonous initially, but is an ambrosial nectar ultimately. From a satisfaction of the spirit comes that pleasure, and it is said to be of Sattva's nature. That which is born of the sensual attractions, of senses, objects and their interactions, seems nectar-like first, but is poison in the end. Such a pleasure as Rajas one can comprehend. The pleasure which is delusionary in essence, in both its beginning and consequence, that stems from sleep, ignorance and a lazy nature, arising out of tamas, is this pleasure. No being can exist on earth. Even in the heavens, no god has taken birth, who is not subject to nature's modes three. From its workings, all qualities come to be. Depending wholly on their birth nature, there are the quadruple divisions of equal stature, based on the individual's tendencies and innate aspects. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, the four sects. Performing penance, seeking knowledge with a forbearance, maintaining self-control with a steadfast perseverance. He is termed a Brahmin who is pure, calm and peaceful, for it is in his nature to seek the spirit and be truthful. Heroism, high-spiritedness and strong physical ability, daring in battle with determination and gallantry, benevolence and a skill in leadership. Such is the Kshatriya's nature that commands lordship. The Vaishyas are the craftsmen, the agriculturists, the cattle raisers, the skilled artisans, the businessmen and the traders. But the Shudras have only one aim in mind: to perform service for the betterment of mankind. A man who in his own works of nature perseveres, his skills mature, as towards perfection he nears. How perfection is achieved, I shall now say. Listen to me, as I shall reveal the way. The Creator of all the living beings in the creation, the Supernal One, who brought forth every manifestation. By worshipping Him through one's own work with devotion, a man can verily attain the zenith of perfection. It is better to perform one's own work faultily than to, under a compulsion of law, perform perfectly. When one follows one's own inner nature, one incurs not any sin of any stature. The duty towards oneself, O Arjuna, one mustn't forsake. Without abandoning works, in the actions one must partake, even if defectively done, as all actions are cloaked with defect. Just as the fire is masked by its own smoke's effect. When the soul is conquered with detachment, leaving no room for desire or any attachment, man transcends regular actions through renunciation, and every action is performed with impeccable perfection. How is it that the union with Brahma is gained? When is it that perfection is attained? O Arjuna, listen, for I shall now explain the most supreme knowledge that man can gain. By cleansing and purifying the inner self and holding a firm control over oneself, by renouncing all objects of sounds and senses, being bereft of anger and repulsive reflexes, controlling mind, speech, body, and ignoring materialistic company, eating moderately for maintaining an inner harmony, seeking a union with the Eternal through regular meditation, letting go of desires, gaining absolute renunciation, discarding egoism, anger and arrogance, desire, possessiveness and violence, of all feelings of proprietorship. When one is free to become the Brahman one is fit to be. When one becomes the Brahman of the liberated self, by engaging in the purification of oneself, neither grieving nor desiring, and perceiving all to equal be, with a love supreme and devotion, those souls verily attain me. He who by devotion evolves to know me, and about all my vast existences that can be, my reality and principle, he truly understands. Uniting with my consciousness, supreme he stands. And when in me he is situated firmly, all his actions he performs verily. By my grace he attains the Eternal, thus uniting with the Creator supernal. By surrendering oneself completely to me, when all the actions and thoughts can devoted be, through yoga, when one incessantly strives, uniting the heart and mind, in my shelter he arrives. When the mind and the heart become one, united with me, All your battles are won. At the times of peril, they are safe passage. I assuage. Only if the self-ego still prevails, one falls into hell's cage. It is because you are taking refuge in your ego. This battle you are seeking to forego. I will not fight, you vainly say, but your inner nature will make you spar anyway. Because of delusion, you do not desire to fight this battle. You seem not to aspire. O Arjuna, in it you will ultimately have to partake. If not on your own, you will be forced for your nature's sake. The Lord that is seated within every living heart, O Arjuna, He stirs and initiates everything start. Like machines, all creatures are made to obey and act as per the will of His Maya's way. Seek refuge in Him in every way, O Arjuna, verily in every single way. For by His grace, the supreme peace you can attain and the eternal status you can obtain. Thus to you, O Arjuna, I have fully revealed that most secret knowledge I have unveiled. So, now by taking my cue, your mode of action you are free to do. And yet another secret, hear me, for I shall explain. As you are my devotee, I hold you main. You are to me most intimate and dearest. Hence, I shall say to you what is best. Merge into my consciousness. Become my lover. Become my sacrifice. Be my adorer. Bow to me, and you shall come to me certainly. My dear one, this is my promise. I shall fulfill, verily. Renounce your religion that you so rigidly own. Surrender to me and seek my refuge alone. From all your sins and evil, I shall relieve. I shall bring deliverance. Do not grieve. Speak not this truth to he who performs not penance, or to he who lacks faith and dwells in ignorance. Also not to he who performs not any service, and to he who causes the indwelling God disservice. He who shall with the most supreme devotion pass over to my devotees this secret declaration, he too shall verily unite and come to me. About this no doubt can there ever be. And no other man can be nearer, for none shall I hold dearer than he who does this task for me. Dearer than him none can ever be. And also he who studies this discourse, holding our discussion sacred in his life's course. By him too the sacrifice of knowledge will be performed. Becoming my worshipper, he shall be transformed. Even the man who merely listens intently, full of faith and devoid of any envy, for himself the liberation he shall obtain, and the righteous realms of happiness he'll attain. O Arjuna, all that I said, did you intently hear? With a concentrated mind, by lending your ear? Has the delusion's veil been lifted? O Arjuna, has your ignorance been obliterated? Arjuna replied, my delusion is destroyed, my memory has returned. O Krishna, by your grace alone, things have thus turned. I am now firm in my resolve. With all doubts cleared, I shall now act as per thy words golden that I have heard. Sanjay said, Thus I heard the words of Krishna, the Divine Lord, and also that of the pious Arjuna, his precious word. So wondrous it was for me to understand that it has caused my hair at their ends to stand. Through the grace of Vyasa, the mystic sage, the king of secrets, I was able to envisage from the Lord of Yoga, Krishna himself, who verily declared the secret of yoga itself. O King, this sacred disclosure I am reminiscing. Again and again, I am ecstatically remembering. O Krishna and Arjuna, I celebrate their conversation. Repeatedly, I am rejoicing in jubilation. I also distinctly remember that marvelous sight of Lord Krishna bathed in the divine light as he displayed his form resplendent. I again rejoice for witnessing that vision transcendent. Wherever there is the Lord of Yoga, Krishna, wherever there is the master archer, Arjuna, there exists the seal of divine victory and prosperity and glory for righteousness. Thus I proclaim with certainty. Thus ended the 18th and final canto of the Bhagavad Gita, where Shri Krishna parted to Arjuna the divine knowledge of liberation that can liberate and uplift the world's peoples